Hi there. Thank you for tuning in to Grow Your Gifts. Today's topic is Piaget, Vygotsky, Maslow, Skinner, and Gardner. Apologize if I didn't pronounce some of those names right, but that's how I say it. So I'm mostly going to be reading today from the screenshots that I've taken. And, please keep in mind that this is from the lens of someone who's been working with children and families for over 20 years. So I really focus on what stands out to me with my experience in this area. So I will be reading from them, screenshots and everything, but also I'll sprinkle in whatever comes to mind and access my databases, as it comes up, and we'll try to get into the flow state with that. So, yeah. Let's get right into it. So Piaget, Jean Piaget, was alive during 1896 to 1980. So basically the 1900s. A psychologist and epistemologist who focused on child development. He developed a theory of human cognitive development known as genetic epistemology, based on his interest in biology and particularly in the adaptation of species to their environment. So how are children different from adults according to Piaget? Piaget proposed a new set of assumptions about the intelligence of children. Children think differently and see the world differently from adults. Children are not passive learners. They actively build up their knowledge about the surrounding. Why do children learn differently to adults? Learning often relies on exploration, play, and guided instruction to build foundational skills with strong dependence on external motivation. In contrast, adult learning is typically self-directed, goal-oriented, and driven by internal motivation and prior experiences. Children build on the concept of object permanence and abstract thinking. They may have a tendency to think that their toys have feelings, also known as animism. A characteristic of the pre-operational stage is dramatic and imaginative play. So for example, a child may use a banana as a pretend phone, demonstrating an awareness that the banana is both a banana and a telephone. And Piaget argued that children in the concrete operational stage are making more intentional and calculated choices, illustrating that they are conscious of their decentering. So already you can see that these researchers are really into bringing up the importance of play and moving from viewing children as adults or the same as adults to, well, no, they're going through their whole other special world. And I just want to say as well about these researchers that I don't know them. I haven't researched them personally. So I'm all about, don't shoot the messenger, and I'm just here to focus on the message itself. It is interesting to me that all of these guys are guys, but I have gone over Maria Montessori a bit, and nowadays there's many other pioneers in this area that are women as well. So that's really important to look into, I think. And we all don't really know everything. We can't possibly. So I think it's nice to get little bits and pieces and see how you feel about them, because there are so many researchers in, so much information in this field, and you're not going to like all of it. So this is why I picked out these guys, because I remember specifically remembering their name from early childhood education back in college, 2003 to 2005, and I had a lot of healing happened with my own inner child with their information, a lot of aha moments, a lot of lightning moments, a lot of really awesome, amazing things. So again, I don't know about how they conduct experiments or all these other things. I'm not here to label or judge or blame or shame or any of that stuff. People are people. They're all going on their human journey. I believe in cosmic justice, so I'm not anybody's judge or jury. I'm just focusing on how they helped, especially in early childhood education. And that's why most of us, are tuning into a lot of these videos and books and self-help things. We just want help, right? So help with growing ourselves, and then and how that affects our families and loved ones and community and society around us, right? So other people are on another trajectory, or they have another mission, or this will not apply to them at all, and that's okay, because we're not all here to do the same thing. So whatever speaks to you, and you can pull on the threads that you like. But I'm just going to information dump. Here we go. So what are the 4 stages of Piaget's theory? Basically, there is a staircase model of development. Piaget proposed 4 major stages of cognitive development and called them sensory motor intelligence, preoperational thinking, concrete operational thinking, and former operational thinking. So sensory motor is birth to 2 years old, pre-operational 2 to 7 years old, and concrete operational 7 to 11 years old, and formal operational 12 years and up. So his theory states that the children's understanding of the world gradually increases over time as they move through these stages. Each stage builds on the previous one, helping children develop logical thinking. So sensory motor is basically children understanding of their understanding of the world is limited to what they can see and touch. Imitation is a foundation for visual thinking. Sensory motor, I went over that. So pre-operational children think using visual images and symbolic thought. Their thinking is focused on the particular, and they rely on intuition and perception. Concrete operational children develop cognitive structures that can be used as logical systems. They can understand reversibility and associativity. Formal operational children can reason abstractly and decontextualizedly. They can use verbal propositions, premises, ideas, and concepts without needing concrete objects. They can also think about moral, philosophical, ethical, social, and political issues. So his theory identified the 4 stages, and Piaget's work emphasized that children actively construct knowledge through interacting with their environment. And from this great website, let's see if I have the name of the website here. So all of this is from the internet, but if I can reference the website, I will, because there's so much valuable information there. It's playlearnthrive.com, and they go into what are the stages of play, Jean Piaget's theory of play. So how can a theory be published in 1936 still help you understand your children and how to encourage them through their cognitive development? Why is play important? Play is the work of childhood. That's the famous quote. But who said it? That's right, Jean Piaget. I know you might have thought it was Mr. Rogers, because he said, play is often talked about as if it were a relief from serious learning. But for children, play is serious learning. And for Hema. So I know, and wait, didn't Maria Montessori say something like that too? Sure she did. Play is the work of the child. So play is important to promote healthy child development. It is so important that play has been recognized as the basic human right of every child. Play helps children develop in their brains, cognitive, social, physical, and emotional areas. Play also allows children to use their creativity and imagination to strengthen their physical bodies and brain. During play, children get to take on roles of adults, like playing family or playing restaurant. They also get to conquer their fears and deal with any difficulties they are facing in their life. So that brings up, we noticed the children were role playing in the toddler room, I think, going to Tim Hortons. So that was, that's like Dunkin' Donuts over here in Canada, basically. And they have drive-through and everything. And I bet, a lot of parents were going to Tim Hortons before they drop off their child to the childcare center. And, then they have to catch the GO train and go to Toronto and all that fun stuff. So we expanded on that in the toddler room because it's all about the children's interests and making it meaningful to them and play meaningful. We got a whole bunch of to-go cups that have Tim Hortons on there, all these different things from Tim Hortons, so they could actually reenact their mom and dad going to the Tim Hortons drive-through. It was amazing, and they learned so much about language and interaction and social skills and like numbers. And we even had some fake cash going in there and coins and stuff to teach them about math and counting. Like, the possibilities are endless when you observe and then start tapping into, the environment. As a third teacher is a big part of what we do now in early child care centers. And you kind of facilitate and help support that, but you kind of step back as well and let them play. So yeah, you got to model things too, because they do learn a lot through imitation at that age. So yeah, children like to take on roles of adults, like playing family or playing restaurant. Tea time. So they also get to conquer their fears and deal with any difficulties they are facing in their life. So yeah, there's a lot of emotional processing going on, a lot of mental processing going on. You never know what kind of things play is really helping them work through, especially at that age. They're just like sponges, right? Someone once told me in a workshop that when you have an infant, it's basically like when that infant's sitting there in the same room as you, it's basically like you have a camcorder, back when we had camcorders, and you put it on the counter and press record. I mean, they're just observing everything. They're super observant, and I'm sure you've noticed that with babies and infants, when their eyesight becomes clear and everything, they're just like so paying attention to everything, generally, often. So it also helps them build problem-solving skills and develop resiliency that will help them well into their adult life. So how much should children play? So some studies suggest that they should get 3 hours of outdoor play, and they should also get regular play throughout their day, not just in one long session. So the sensory motor stage, birth to 2 years. So Jean Piaget's theory spans from that stage, and it focuses mostly on how children learn through their 5 senses and movement and exploring their environment. So even if you go into like Pinterest, you're going to see, infant or toddler, a lot of sensory play ideas. And we did that a lot in the childcare center. Like one of my favorite ones for the infants, and when they're learning to crawl, because it also involves movement, and you tape different sensory bags to the floor, and they love it, squishing and feeling and exploring, especially using different textures in different ways. Possibilities are endless when you think about all their senses, how to incorporate music or musical instruments from around the world. We had a great resource library that we could borrow items from, all these different things, CDs. Yeah, we had CD players in the classroom. Or we would play, on my Bluetooth speaker on my phone or something. And so many different things. So just thinking about their senses, even at infant and toddler stages, we would involve them in age-appropriate sort of cooking activities. So they're not cooking anything, but they're helping us with the sensorial feeling of, okay, I'm going to take one handful of flour, put it in here, I'm going to do this, and then they have their child size bowl. I guess I was more at toddler stage. And they help us mix things together, and then, you know, we go, someone goes bakes it in the kitchen, and then they see the end result type of thing. And we do a lot of science activities like that as well. So they really get to get their hands in there and have their own sort of stations and explore with their senses, and using food in an appropriate way for cooking or baking, not, you know, wasting food. I think that was a huge light bulb for me during that time. There was a lot of like, oh, let's use pasta to decorate, you know, the frame of the photo, and make a pasta necklace and stuff. And then I went to some workshops, and we're like, well, what kind of message are we sending these children? Like, food is for eating, it's for nourishment. It shouldn't be wasted to use for like play. So that I'm come from that camp, you know, and I'm not judging anybody, but I think if you want children to feel dry rice, involve them in cooking the dry, you know, rice, basically. Involve them in the kitchen in a very safe way that you can, like they're in their high chair or whatever, and you're bringing the items to them, and they're not anywhere near the stove at that age. So things like that, but they're watching and they're observing, and they get to participate. That's all they really want is to interact with their mom and dad at the end of the day. But, you know, they like to do it in a playful way. So 0 to 2 years, children learn through their 5 senses, movement, and exploring their environment. So a good way to encourage development during this time is by giving children sensory play with sensory bins, with different textures, and play with different activities that make sounds. So yeah, in every early child care environment, you know, you can call it classroom environment, whatever you want to call it. I call it environment. We always have a sensory bin. Sometimes there's water play, and they have aprons and different, you know, things for pouring and different. It really works like pre-writing muscles and squeezing and picking up, grasping, like all these different. And they love water play. There's always towels handy for the floor, and but we try to, you know, so someone's always sitting, an adult's always sitting there, you know, the teacher with the chair, and guiding them to, you know, please keep it in the bin, water stays in the bin. If they're, you know, your turn's over, you're not keeping the water in the bin, okay, bye-bye. So they always need boundaries as well, and how to play appropriately. And water play outside during the summertime. They got their bathing suits and everything, and they've got different, you know, types of sprinklers and fun stuff for them to do with bubbles and everything. So sensory bins, you know, we would switch it up with other things like sand play and so many different other things. And we'd always have a music center with different musical instruments. So they love making sounds, but you can also look up on Pinterest like loose parts and music. So literally most of the things you'll find in your recycling bin. And you'll figure out how to tape things together or things like that. And they love just exploring and making different sounds from things around the house. But it's important to differentiate, like, this is your music sound loose parts box or bin that you can use. And when we're in the kitchen, this is for cooking, you know, or this is for that. So make sure to have very clear and easy boundaries for them to follow with what's okay and not okay to use. Yeah, it's important to provide children with a rich environment full of objects they can interact with that incorporate all their senses. So different textures and fabrics, corduroy, velvet, denim, papers, sandpaper, bubble wrap. Ooh, we use bubble wrap a lot. Walking on bubble wrap that's like taped to the floor for infants. They love it. But we also did like a textured walk. It's like you make a runway and with different textures. Oh my gosh. We've done painting with feet painting on like a big mural paper. I mean, that's like almost one-on-one because you really need to hold their hands and it's all about safety. Or do it against a wall as well and just, spot them so you're there. And then you got your wet towel and dry towel ready to go to like clean their feet after. But they love it. And meanwhile, now they're educators taking photos and capturing, all the learning and fun and joy and play that's happening in that moment of feet painting. So, yeah, things that make different sounds, whistles, bells, toys that click. They love xylophones. Things of different shapes and sizes, foam blocks with a variety of shapes, a space that encourages movement is really, really important. So the pre-operational stage, 2 to 7 years of Jean Piaget's theory. The stage begins when your child starts talking and communicating more, but they are still unable to put ideas together logically. During this time, children start doing parallel play, which I'm sure many parents and aunties, uncles, grandparents have all witnessed, during that age time. They're kind of playing side by side of each other, interacting in their own way, but mostly just playing beside each other. That's parallel play. So which means they are playing next to the children, but not really with them. Also during this stage, children have difficulty seeing things from other people's point of view. Children start playing more pretend games and role-playing games. So definitely, most of my job in toddler rooms or even preschool rooms sometimes was, about turn taking and learning how to take turns. And, they have different stations, and we'd have a system in place so they know when the sound happens, they get to go move to the next station. So, yeah, it was very reinforcing that how to play appropriately and share and all that good stuff. Yeah, they start playing more pretend games and role-playing games. In this stage, it is important to let your child continue to learn through real-world experiences, but it is also given the opportunity for pretend play. Things that will help your child through the pre-operational stage are dolls, including all these different kind of dolls they're listing. They love baby dolls. Oh my gosh, they love it. Like a little crib, a little blanket, little diapers, like everything. They give baby bath time. It's just, kind of digesting their own life experience so far. I don't know, or if they have a sibling or a younger sibling or older, cousins, I don't know, but they love playing with baby dolls. Taking baby doll for a walk in the strollers. They have all these like child-size strollers and different things. Purses, backpacks, action figures, dress-up clothes. That's a huge one, like Mr. Dress Up, that show that used to be on back in the day. I loved Mr. Dress Up, and just having like a chest full of dress-up clothes, or nowadays they're on hooks everywhere, so it's easy for the children to put them back and clean up independently, like once they're shown a few times. And helped with that, like this goes here. Oh, they absolutely love dress-up clothes, and make sure you have a mirror available for them too. Like, I'm a princess. Yeah. So small world toys, items to build their small worlds, including animal figurines, dolls, doll houses, and furniture. Building blocks and construction set. Crayons, markers, pens, pencils, and paper to draw with. Picture books and some board books are great while they are still young toddlers. And the concrete operational stage, so I just want to say about building blocks and construction set, great aha moment. Some of the staff at a childcare center I worked at, they had the opportunity to go to Italy and go see the centers there, because it was a Reggio Emilia philosophy at the center, so it's kind of nature-based and different. You can look up what Reggio Emilia philosophy is. It's also a city in Italy, I believe. And they went there, and a lot of things we can't do in Canada, it's just different there, but other things, they were amazed, like, and we wish we could do this. So we encourage the parents to do this at home because we couldn't really do it in a child care environment. And that idea is, so for building blocks and construction set, so once the toddler or preschooler has built something with this huge block set that they have, leave it there. So you have a room or an area or a corner of a room, and that's where they just get to keep it up there. I've seen children, or at least the parents have told me about it, where they're like almost city planning, because they're so used to taking the blocks and putting them up and then down, up and then down, and that's important at infant and toddler. They're learning about science and gravity and so many things. But when they get older, they're using more imagination. So, this is the fire station and this is the, I don't know, bus stop and whatever it is. That's where the GO train is. So they are mapping things out for themselves. It's really cool. So I would definitely say have an area where they can keep their blocks up. You might not see it, and I'm sure everybody has experience with Legos and stuff, but this is just with, like, for younger children, like the bigger blocks, and then as they get older, the blocks get a little bit smaller and smaller. Legos are choking hazard for a lot of them at that age, so you don't want to use that little tiny pieces, right? And picture books and some board books are always great. They love those. It's getting those visuals and that language and literacy in at a very young age, just keeping that in their environment, and it really helps them with self-regulation and downtime, and they kind of like go into the Zen space when they're just looking at picture books, right? So the concrete operational stage, 7 to 11 years. According to Jean Piaget's theory, your child will start building logical thought and be able to understand the laws of conversation, where the same thing can be different shapes, and be the same amount. For example, they will be able to understand that a cup of water is the same amount if it's in a tall, thin glass or a short, stout glass. At this age, children become expert problem solvers and want to understand how the world works around them. Like Nancy Drew or the Hardy Boys, by 8 years old, they're already way more intelligent than me. I have met 8-year-olds who know like every single name of every single dinosaur. Like all these different things, whatever their hobby is, they, coin collecting or stamps or baseball cards. Back in the day, when I did babysitting and stuff, I'd just be like, wow, I don't know that much about anything. Like they have it memorized. I'm just like, you're amazing. So yeah, they become expert. Things that can give your child, you can give your child to help them develop during operational stage, or math programs like synthesis. I'm not sure what that is, but logic games like chess, STEM toys, mechanical building sets. So STEM is in all caps, STEM toys, science kits, hobbies that create something like woodworking or sewing or crocheting, number games, models to build, airplane models, doll houses, car models, Lego, and Lego sets. Very cool. The formal operational stage, 11 years old to adulthood. During this formal operational stage, children and adolescents begin to understand abstract thought and can manipulate ideas in their heads. They will also be able to do more complicated math and think creatively, and they can understand more complicated scientific ideas. They can also understand hypothetical scenarios and questions. Things to help your child develop during the formal operational stage are things like Rubik's Cubes and chess again, and games that involve strategy and thought, Sudoku puzzles, multitude of books on different subjects, also taking classes on hobbies and deep diving into hobbies. I don't know about you, but I'm finding children are getting more and more intelligent or something at younger ages. but that also means they're getting a little more sassy at younger ages. So, yeah, we do have to adjust ourselves accordingly and kind of take it as observe who is this individual that I'm working with, what are this child's strengths and weaknesses and interests and passions, and what are they leaning towards, and kind of exposing them to different areas of learning and seeing their aptitude and different areas of play and seeing what they're into. Then you can kind of gauge and support, because you really don't want to overwhelm yourself and you don't want to overwhelm them, and I want to try to keep it as simple as possible. So I really thought I could 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 summarize these 5 researchers in early child care, child psychology, in 30 minutes. But it's already been like 30 minutes and I'm still on Piaget. So, nerd alert. I'm definitely into this stuff a lot. a lot. And I'm still on Piaget. So I'll wrap up Piaget and we will continue tomorrow on Vygotsky. And let's see how many more screenshots I have. Okay, what is schema according to Piaget? So Frederick Bartlett was the first to use the idea of schemas in his theory on learning, but it was Piaget who had first used the term schema. Schema. I don't know. For Piaget, a schema is a process of learning new knowledge and the category to which knowledge belongs. He believed that schemas were constantly evolving as people took in new knowledge. According to Piaget, a common example of a schema would be a child's understanding of a dog. To a small child, a dog has fur, 4 legs, teeth, and a tail. When she sees a cat, she may also call it a dog because it checks all the same boxes. I've never seen a child mix up a cat and a dog, but anyway. Tell you, they start much younger. Meow, meow, woof, woof, right? It's not, anyways. It's not uncommon for small children to call all animals they encounter a puppy. Like, what? Okay, maybe back in the 1900s, mid 1900s, I don't know. But that's interesting. Was thinking about, working with children with autism. That was a big part of it. Depending on what level, what stage they were at, we would have the different pictures, of the different animals and what is it, dog, give them the response and say what is it, and they say dog. But this was all in IBI therapy. It's really hard to explain. Maybe I'll show you guys one day what IBI therapy looks. But basically it involves a lot of these different awesome, valuable things that these researchers talk about, which is like scaffolding and positive reinforcement and connecting one thing to another. So they already know certain things. The child with autism knows them, absolutely. And then the thing that they don't know, you slip that in while giving them positive reinforcement at a fast pace. So I even did this with someone I know who doesn't have autism, an adult. I said, I'm going to get you to say avocado. And they're like, what? I'm not going to say it. I was like, no. We're going to do IBI therapy with you, and you're going to say avocado. So I did such a fast pace, and I had my objects in front of me. I was like, touch this. What's your address? How old are you? Bing, bang, boom. And, by the end, I said, what is this? They said avocado. So I said, okay, see, it's just connecting the chain of information. I don't know. So I don't know how to explain it, but it's really profound and amazing. So in that case, depending on where you are on the spectrum, and you might have difficulty distinguishing between a dog and a cat. It just depends on how you see the world and what kind of special needs, I would say special abilities that you have, because if you're having difficulty in one area, you're probably really good in another area. That's been my experience with special needs. So Yeah, Piaget's 4 types of play and what they mean for a child's development. According to Piaget, children play in 4 ways: functional, constructive, fantasy, and games with rules. These types of play occur at different stages of development. So, functional play is more like physical, like running, sliding, jumping, dumping out of a box of toys, and experimenting with the world through their senses. Yeah, they absolutely love that. We would spend, I mean, I have spent in my entire life hours and hours and hours and hours and hours in the sandbox, literally with the toddler age group, sometimes infants, and we would just not even build sandcastles, just do it with one bucket over and over again. The process of how to build a sandcastle, the beginning stage, the first stage, how much water to use, how much sand to use, how to pack it. I would use the same language over and over, turn it upside down, slowly lift it up, different groups of toddlers. That's why I've done it so many times. I don't mind. I have a fountain of patience, and I can see the learning that's occurring. And they're just, I like the teachers are happy because I have like a group of 10 toddlers around me, just be like, whoa. And I'm like, okay, now here's your bucket, and you try it. Here's your bucket, and you try it. Pat, pat, pat. So yeah, dumping. When you think of dumping out a box of toys, uh, and then filling it back in, and you've seen that age group do that a lot, and it's like frustrating for some people, but I see the learning that's happening, and as long as everything's tidied up by the time the tidy up song comes, then it's all good. Fill and dump to your heart's content, child, I say. So this type of play is prevalent during the sensory motor stage between 0 and 2. The stage of play ends between the ages of 2 and 4. Well, hasn't ended for me, so anyway, just joking. So from here, children will move from just moving blocks around and tossing them to stacking them and starting constructive play, like building a city with blocks, that sort of thing. So constructive play during this stage, children want to play with toys and other objects to accomplish a goal. For example, using blocks to build a tower. We would do that too with ramps. So including ramps with that block section that you have at home or in the classroom is really helpful. Because they can roll things down there and roll cars down or up, or yeah, ramps are awesome. Children tend to play this way between the ages of 3 and 7. Eventually they will start mixing in some fantasy play with their constructive play. Instead of building a tower, they may use blocks to build a little town and drive cars around their block buildings on imaginary roadways. Yeah, symbolic fantasy play. During the fantasy or symbolic stage of play, children play make-believe games and role-playing games. These games can be fantasy-themed like princesses and knights, or role-playing games like teacher, police officer, or mom and dad, or Tim Hortons drive-through. Get your coffee, large, triple. Well, that's me. Most people get double. Uh, so yeah. The best way to support and encourage your child during this play stage is to give them dress-up clothes and play pretend with them. Often they will want to tell you what to do during the game. This stage can start around 3 to 4 years of age and last through 11 or 12 years of age. Oh yeah, I had so much fun. I would just sit around if we had like a transition or something where we were just waiting, and I'm with the preschool age group. Maybe they're waiting for their parents to come, and there's just a few of us, and there's nothing else to do. Everything's cleaned up, and I would just make up a story. And all the names of all the characters in the story were children in the classroom, but it was like a princess and a prince, and they had their horses and a castle, and I would just go on and more elaborate with the story and about cooking and chefs, but they all had sometimes names of their teachers too. They loved it at 3 to 4 years of age. Just storytelling and pretend play and imagination, mesmerized. So it was really fun. They're like, let's hear more about the story later. And then they would come up with their own stories. It was so good. Yeah. So games with rules. The last stage of play is games with rules. During this type of play, children play games with friends, and they with present preset rules like tag or hide and seek. This can also include board games and video games. During this stage, children understand how to follow the rules, and if someone breaks the rules, there are consequences in the game. They understand ideas like cooperation and being competitive. These games usually begin around age 7 and continue through adulthood. Yay, we got through Piaget. It only took 40 minutes. Okay, so next is going to be Vygotsky, and we'll just take this video by video. I don't like to go more than 30 minutes because it takes forever to upload, but I do other things while I'm uploading, so it's okay. And also it's a long one to watch, but watch at your leisure if you're called to it, and skip ahead or whatever you want. All right, that's it for today. Hope you liked it. Signing off, and I wish you well.